Rap singer Eazy-E has lost his battle with AIDS just 10 days after revealing that he had the disease. What if one of hip-hop's greatest icons didn't just die, but was deliberately silenced? Eazy-E's sudden collapse and death from AIDS in 1995 shocked the world. But the deeper you look, the more things don't make sense. From sealed hospital rooms and last-minute weddings to FBI files and unsettling interviews, the official story starts to unravel. His closest friends didn't see the signs. "I miss him already. I still can't believe he's gone so fast." His enemies only grew stronger after his death. And now, decades later, the puzzle pieces are finally being put together. The mystery of Eazy-E's death may have finally been solved. And it's so much worse than we thought. Eazy-E's diagnosis hit like a gut punch on March 16, 1995, delivered not by the rapper himself, but by his attorney, Ron Sweeney. The announcement stunned the world. Eazy-E, one of hip-hop's most fearless pioneers, was suddenly on his deathbed, battling a disease no one even knew he had. No warning, no farewell tour, no final interviews. At that press conference, Sweeney read from a statement Eric Wright had supposedly written just days earlier. "I just feel I've got thousands of young fans who have to learn about what's real when it comes to AIDS. I've learned in the last week that this thing is real and it doesn't discriminate." Those words hit like a thunderclap. The message was clear. This was a warning, a call for awareness, but beneath it lay a swirling cloud of confusion and disbelief. Just 3 weeks before that press conference, Eazy-E had walked into Cedars-Sinai Medical Center complaining of a cough he thought was just bronchitis. That cough would be the first sign of a downward spiral that seemed almost too rapid to be true. Within days, he was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS and completely isolated in the ICU at just 31. And one of the pioneers of gangster rap, as the leader of the group NWA, has revealed he has AIDS. The man who had once lived life on the loudest, boldest terms was reduced to silence, fighting a battle the world barely understood. And within a month, he was gone. But something about this timeline didn't sit right. It didn't follow the normal course of HIV/AIDS. Those closest to Eazy, his friends, his business partners, even the medical staff felt a disconnect between what was being said and the reality they were witnessing. The fans were shell-shocked. They had lost a legend far too soon. Yet, in quiet conversations around Compton, in the back rooms of LA studios, and in the shadowed corridors of Ruthless Records, whispers began to circulate questions that no one dared voice publicly. How could this happen so fast? Was this really just about AIDS? Or was something else at play? The medical timeline made no sense. Eazy checked into the hospital in February 1995, and within a month, he was dead. The diagnosis went from HIV to full-blown AIDS with terrifying speed. In March, barely weeks after his admission, his family was told he was terminal. And by March 26, the hip-hop community had lost one of its brightest flames 31 days from check-in to funeral. It wasn't just fast. It was medically unexplainable. Even in the early 90s, when treatments were rudimentary and survival grim, the course of the disease was usually measured in years, not weeks. Arthur Ashe, the tennis legend, had announced his HIV diagnosis 5 years prior and lived for more than a year after revealing his condition publicly. Actor Rock Hudson had months between his diagnosis and death. But in Eazy's case, there was no gradual decline. The typical signs of AIDS progression, the visible wasting, the skin infections, the neurological decline were either absent or not reported. While his appetite had decreased, Eazy still retained enough strength to banter with friends, laugh, and conduct business. He was still signing new talent, still involved, still present in the game. In retrospect, this rapid disappearance was suspicious. It wasn't just the illness taking a toll. It felt like the man himself was vanishing under layers of secrecy and silence. The music industry, a realm riddled with power plays, betrayal, and unspoken truths, watched quietly as their star faded. No one openly questioned the official story. But behind closed doors, the doubt was palpable. The more people tried to rationalize, the more the gaps in the timeline seemed to widen. What if Eazy-E didn't just get sick? What if something or someone helped silence him? The speed of his decline left behind a mystery that refused to die. And for those who had seen him just days before the diagnosis, that mystery felt even deeper, because Eazy didn't look like a man on the edge of death. Lazy Bone, one of the closest confidants and among the last people to actually speak with Eazy-E before his health rapidly declined, offered a striking reflection that would haunt those who knew the rapper well. He said he was built like a tank, still had his swagger, his strength, still looked like Eazy. This wasn't just a comment about physical appearance. It captured the essence of a man who seemed indomitable, resilient, and far from the frail figure many expected from someone grappling with AIDS. Lazy Bone and the rest of Bone Thugs-N-Harmony had only just been signed to Ruthless Records when Eazy's mysterious illness began to surface. Their proximity gave them a unique vantage point. They saw him almost daily sharing studio time, conversations, and the usual hustle of the music business. Yet, not one of them witnessed the usual outward signs of sickness. There was no obvious weakness dragging him down. No bouts of confusion clouded his mind. No telltale rashes marred his skin. Not a shred of dramatic weight loss betrayed the devastating disease reportedly eating him from within. Karis Henry, Eazy's former assistant and a longtime friend who had watched him closely, stated bluntly and without hesitation. There were no lesions, no dementia. I lost an uncle to AIDS. I know what it looks like. This wasn't that. Coming from someone who had seen the ravages of the disease firsthand, this statement carried weight. It contradicted the public narrative of a man slowly succumbing to AIDS in agonizing decline. Instead, it painted a picture of a man who outwardly maintained his health and vitality almost as if the illness itself was hiding behind an impenetrable veil. Across every testimony from friends, family, and colleagues, one detail was chillingly consistent. No subtle hint or gradual deterioration that might have prepared those closest to him. Not even the faintest fatigue that would have raised alarms. Visitors came and went from his recording studio, catching glimpses of a man who was still laughing, still making plans, still traveling between engagements. He was present, vibrant, and alive until suddenly, he was not. The speed and suddenness of his collapse left everyone reeling. To those who loved him, who knew his relentless spirit and unyielding drive, it felt less like a natural progression of disease and more like a calculated execution. An invisible force had silenced him swiftly and without mercy, robbing the world of a voice that still had so much to say.